everybody, and welcome to Penelope's Pocket Flosstube episode number 10. I'm in double digits, and that brings a smile to my face because it makes me think of my nan. Because when I was 9 turning 10, that seemed to be a big thing for her, and she really bigged it up for me as well. You're going to be in double digits. So Penelope's Pocket is now in double digits. We're at episode 10. Today is Saturday the 6th of September 2025, and I wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for your lovely comments on my last Flosstube. All of the lovely comments, but many of you referred to my health, and so much positivity and love and friendship and kindness coming through those comments. It really means a lot to me. What also really means a lot to me is that a lot of you talk about your own personal journeys with cancer or illness, and I love the fact that this is a little community where we feel safe, I suppose, to be able to make personal comments like that everyone can read. And I think it's lovely that everybody can read them because we can all benefit from them. So thank you for that. Thank you to Gamma Bunny. I don't remember your proper name, but your comment was, remember that your fans are always cheering for you. And I forgot to say in my last video when I did my health update, but I do, and it does mean a lot. That power of positive thought, energy, prayer, whatever it is, all over the world is really something to be reckoned with. Right, I've not been well. I feel like I'm invincible, and I forget that sometimes I can be ill. So it's been about 4 weeks since my last episode. I perhaps don't have as much to share as usual, and I might refer to not feeling great because it has influenced what I've worked on and what I've been able to do. But I will tell you what happened and a proper update at the end. Okay, so I'm Sarah. If you've made it this far without preamble, well done. And I'm just going to crack straight on, actually, with what am I wearing. So this is something that I put on when I had to go out in the week, this top, and I had my little cashmere red Sophie scarf on. I cannot find that anywhere this morning to be able to complete this outfit and show you the finished Sophie scarf. It seems to me that quite often on a Flosstube, an object enters a black hole. I have never found my Morclin Fernwear needle holder. One day maybe it will turn up. I have just spent, and I'm very slow at the moment, so bear with me, 3/4 of an hour looking for that Sophie scarf, because I remember taking it out of my handbag. I don't remember anything further than that, even though I've sat and thought about it. Anyway, that has also now entered the black Flosstube hole of objects that I want to show that I've lost. Steve's been saying to me it'll turn up. It will turn up, but I have searched everywhere this morning for that. So I'm not wearing that, but I went out in the week and I was wearing this sleeveless top with my Sophie scarf, and I thought, I'm going to be cold, I need to go and find a cardigan. So out of my knitwear drawer I pulled this one. Now this, believe it or not, I've been trying to date it. I think I made this when I was maybe 14, 15 or 16, around that sort of time, for sure. Definitely no older than 16. It's not the first garment that I ever made, but it obviously is a very early one. It's a typical English construction. It was knitted in pieces, the fronts, the backs, the arms, all sewed together with a button band and a neckband. And this is back in the day when you could go to, I had a local yarn store in Village, I suppose, close to where I lived, and you could flick through the patterns in the folders. You could choose your pattern, and then you could choose the yarn, and they would keep the yarn for you, and you could buy a ball a week or 2 balls a week, your budget or your knitting speed, I suppose. And so yeah, I vividly remember those days when you used to put your yarn to one side and just buy the balls as you needed them. This one is it's all knitting, and then, I mean, obviously I don't remember the pattern, but at some stage you must have wrapped the yarn around the needle 3 times and then dropped it on the following row to create this hole. I know it's 100% cotton because it's worn so well over many years, and I guess it's what we would now call a boucle, and it has these very old-fashioned, of its time, plastic buttons with, I think they've got a shank on the back, a shank on the back, and a little star cut in the top. I wouldn't change them because they're of its day, aren't they? So yeah, so that's what I'm wearing, and that's what I needed to be wearing as well when I went out for the day because it was a little bit chilly. I'm just drinking water. I've got a bit of a cough. I hope that's not a problem if you're wearing earphones or earbuds, because sometimes I cough without even realising it. But I have a glass of water to try and help with that. I've got extensive notes because my brain is mush. So what's next? Oh, the giveaways. I find it so difficult to give things away. I still haven't had the lady who won the thread winder contact me. It's been quite a long time now. That was episode number 4. I tried to give that away, and so far, even though I know the people that have won the thread winder, they obviously haven't watched to the bitter end and claimed it. So I've drawn that again. I have had communication with the lady who won the chart, the Strength and Dignity chart, and we had a slight issue with email addresses and things, and she's a lovely lady and just said to me, just redraw it. So I've redrawn that one as well. So I didn't print off the screenshots, so this, just bear with me. So the thread winder, hopefully this time, is going to go to this lady who I also know and I think watches me, but I'm not gonna say anything. Hopefully she will just contact me. So Catherine D 6199, who commented on episode 4, you have won the Saju Faux Mother of Pearl thread winder. And just contact me with your, I know that you know how to get hold of me, your address so that I can send it to you. The Strength and Dignity chart, this time, I can't really see clearly myself. I hope that's clear for you. It's going to Marion van der Sand 6382, and that's from episode 7. So if you're still watching me, Marion, you won it. Get into contact with me, I think through the website. It might be inquiries at, or you can just type in Sarah with an H, Sarah, at penelopespocket.co.uk with your address, and I will get that out to you, and it'd be really nice to get those things off my desk. So let me go that side now. So those are the giveaways. So let's launch into, let's see what's in the bag. what have I been working on? As I say, it's been a long time, so some of them might be a surprise to me. Let's start off with this fellow here. This is my sock knitting bag. I haven't shown this for a long time because I haven't really done very much because I've just had appointments, but A&E is a different matter. So I finished a sock. So there is one Christmas sock finished. And I cast on a sock and have gotten this far with it. A fair distance. So yeah, I'm working on the foot and then I'll be shaping the toe, casting off. There is a drop stitch in here, quite understandably. I don't know if you can, against my cardigan, there he is there. And I didn't notice it until I was up here somewhere. I try not to unpick, never unpick. And so I didn't unpick it, but I will tuck that in and sew it down, and I just picked up another one, cast another one on, so I had the correct number. So a bit of fudging going on there. But there we go. So that's the sock knitting, which has been quite a bit. Right, the bag. I've got some knitting. I'll do that at the end. So I'm still on my, still with my Mediterranean summer bag, and on the top here, it's more knitting. So I started my daughter's Parnasse scarf. So this is like the Sophie one that I can't find, but has more of a pattern to it. And this is for my daughter for her birthday. It's so soft, this yarn, it's really lovely. And I got it as far as the point where the diamond shaped pattern comes in. I've made one of these for myself, which I showed possibly last time. And then I thought, I'm not up to doing that diamond shaped pattern. I'm going to stop for a while. So stop I have. The yarn that I'm using is Biches and Bouches. What's it called? Le Gros Silk and Mohair. It is really lovely and soft and fluffy. So there we go. It's her birthday at the end of the month, so I will pick that up and get on with it. So that's something else that I've started and been working on. Right, cross stitching. This is no particular order, I'm just pulling them out and showing them to you. So in this bag I have my pastoral pocket by the Drawn Thread, which I've talked about before. And one of the reasons I talked about it was, firstly, Caroline at Caroline's Corner had shown a really beautiful housewife that she does some fabulous small finishes, and I was really taken with it, but it was a very, very old chart, and I thought, well, I have my pastoral pocket, I could get that out, and to put some happy stitches into it, because I talked of my memories of this one being one that I had in hospital with me. It was also a sample of September start for me in 2024, so it's good to get it back out again. And I did quite a bit on it actually. And here's where I am. So I think last time I showed you, I definitely had the flower and the dragonfly in, and some of this flower here, and all of the grass, because it was the grass that I worked on while I was in hospital, and bits of the tree. So since I showed it to you and said I was going to pick it back up, I finished off the trees and put in all the fruits. The apples were satin stitches, the pears just cross stitch. Put in some of the alphabet, well, yeah, some of the alphabet, but all of the alphabet that's on the chart across the top. Finish the leaves on the tree, put in the bee there. I think he's just cross stitch. Yes, he is just cross stitch. I have done the house putting the house in, and the sheep. And I love that sheep actually. I thought it was odd that he didn't have any features. You know, he has no face or anything. But I think he does work. I like him. I like him a lot. And to stitch him, to stitch this piece, I'm using mainly the called for because I had a few of them. I'm using a green of my own. So the called for green is seagrass, which I have and I'm using. I can't remember what the other green was, but I am using, I had two here. I had dried thyme from the Gentle Art, but I haven't used that. I've actually used Loddon by Weeks Dye Works for the other green. So that's my own substitution. I've also used the Gentle Art, oh, it doesn't say on this one here. I think they're called Simply Wool. I've got a few of them. Anyway, it's a wool. It's a hand-dyed wool thread. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit fluffier, and I've obviously used that for the sheep. It's 32 count, so it works okay on this count linen, and it gives him a bit of a fluffy texture. I said before, I also have switched out the black that's called for, which I think might have been licorice, which is quite a black, and I'm using the DMC, I haven't got it on here because it's in another project, it's 3371, the very, very dark browny black for the black. So I use that for his features, or his face, he hasn't got any features, and his ears and his feet and his tail. So I would normally have soldered on and finished the house. I think, yeah, I'd had enough, so I stopped. So all I need to do here is to fill in the house and the windows, and there's an over one dragonfly in that space there, and then it's off up to the well, that's the flap, that's the back, this is the front, but part of the front is hidden, so it's not so much stitching at the top and a little bit more at the bottom where you can see it. It's got a robin on it and things. It's going to be really lovely, I think. So that's my pastoral pocket, which I have progressed. I'm stitching this on Aged Grapefruit by XJU Designs. I can't see on my phone that that's showing, but it does have nice mottling to it actually, and I think the colours look nice. So I've been working on that. I'm just going to put my hand in and pull things out. It'll be a surprise for me as well as for you. Well, what is this? My Zarafa bag. I haven't started this, but it is ready to go, and this is possibly the sort of project that I will enjoy. What I need to be working on, because it is another animal cracker, and I am doing, actually I've got two in here, I've got Harrison, but I'm doing this one, Jenny, and I have chosen a piece of Fox and Rabbit 36 count hog bristle. I think I know I've done animal crackers on here before, because I can see where I've cut them out. So I'm just going to use that again. And I've got all the, oh yeah, I couldn't find my thread to keep, but I have subsequently found it, and I will hunt it down. I've got all the called for threads. I think they're all the called for threads. I'll let you know once I start it if they're not. All the threads for her ready to go. So I've kitted her up basically since I last saw you, but I haven't started her. they're very mindful, because there's big areas of filling, and that's what I need at the moment. Okay, next, just putting my hand in. This is my Swarm bag from the Netherlands. Right way up, Sarah, with dahlias on. It feels like it might be socks. It is socks, and it's just the yarn for them. So I bought some of this Drops Fable yarn, which is really inexpensive, and it's like a confetti colouring on there, and I'm seeing that as a pair of lacy socks for me. I think I've got a pattern in mind. It's just a free pattern on Ravelry. Once I start them, I'll tell you what it is. Next. Okay, so this is going to be as a surprise for me as it is for you, because I worked on this straight after my last episode and put it down after about a week. So it's been a long time since I looked at this. This is my Parrot Leopard Lion from the Scarlet House, and I got this to a point where I thought that's enough, I'll finish it next time. So what did I do since I last saw you? I have put in this top motif here. So I joined it up, and the counting was all right, no more mistakes. Got in the outline and got in all the blue. So the other parts of that motif are the browns and the greens, and that seemed like a good place to stop. I was actually itching to continue. I really enjoy working on this, but there is quite a long way to go. When I get a bit closer to the end, I probably will stick with it for a finish, but there's a lot of stitching still to do in this. But yes, so that's what I did since I last saw you. Got that motif in, got those blues in. I spoke last time about some of the DMCs being very close in tone. Sorry, it's just because I keep leaning backwards and forwards that the light keeps going up and down. I'll leave that there like that. I hope that's okay. So I switched out one of the blues. So I changed the very palest blue for an even paler blue that I had anyway. And so I've got a bit more contrast between the blues, because I did feel like it was a waste of time swapping the colour because they were so similar. And that was the situation with some of those greens and browns in there, which are repeated up here. So I have switched the colours around a bit, but yeah, it's stunning, isn't it? So I'll quickly show you the pattern. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll know it, but you can see what I mean about the flower. So I've got all the blues in, and I just need to get these, focusing, the brownie parts in there. But you know, there's a long way still to go. I've still got to do the parrot. I've still got to do quite a lot of stitching up here. The bottom bit is done, apart from that lower corner, which is just infill. So I may well pick this up again today, because I do enjoy working on it, and put another week or so into it. So that's my Parrot Leopard Lion. My Liberty Tree of Life bag. Okay. Next. So this is the in an inappropriate Scottish bag. This is the Sew Idea Black Rooster Sal, which I have kept up with. So there's a lot of progress on this since you last saw it, because the new part comes out every Saturday. I haven't looked yet today, it's out now. We'll see what's coming next, but I've done quite a lot on this. I think I've said before, it's very doable, and I've not done a cross stitch sal before. I don't know that I would do another, but I have actually quite enjoyed it, because I've switched between thinking, don't think I really like it, to, oh yeah, I really like that bit. So here's where I'm at, which is up to date apart from today's edition. So the parts are very small. I think we had half an alphabet, half an alphabet, half an alphabet, half an alphabet, and then we had this, I think possibly the central bit with the black rooster, then the crowns on this side and the crowns on that side, and we also had the come forward a bit, I hope the light doesn't go berserk. We put this in and this in on one part, and it has a yellow in it, and I didn't like it. Ooh, sorry. I'm not a great lover of yellow. However, the next part was this motif here, and I loved it, and I thought, oh, this is so Dutch to me. I'm not an expert by any means, but I really liked this motif when it went in, and it uses a lot of the yellow. I have noticed that the yellow is better in daylight, and I do a lot of my stitching in the evening with artificial light, but this transformed this stitch for me, and I thought, well, I really like that. And then the following week was this one on this side, which obviously is very similar. I don't want to keep apologising about the light, but there we go. I've been tempted all the way along to make changes, but I haven't, because you don't know where it's going. However, I have added some white stitches to the centre of these flowers. I will slowly try to get it. You might be able to see it. I'm looking at a very small telephone screen. I put some white stitches in the centre of here. They didn't have anything. I just felt it needed it. Yeah, because of the yellow, basically. So that was the next part. And then the part that I've just done has been this very yellow heavy motif, which is obviously a tulip. The blue bird, I don't think it's a swan, but, and this piece here. So I'm assuming today's is going to be something here, and I'm excited to see what it is actually. I'm not up to date with the border fully, but you know, that's not important, is it? I'm up to date with all the motifs, and I'm really liking it. I'm enjoying my mystery sal. And keeping up with it. There's nothing in here apart from the stitching and the threads, because I'm doing it as it drops, as a chart. I'm just opening it up on my laptop, using my laptop to stitch it, and then that's it. I mean, I won't ever stitch it again. I haven't saved it or anything, but very much enjoying it. It won't be free forever. If you like the look of it, you could join in, or you could download the episodes as they, the chart pieces as they drop. Right, what else is in the bag? This is the other stitch along, which I have not been very good with. And I think two reasons. I am not on Facebook, and a lot of the fun and shenanigans and information and videos are all via a Facebook group. I vaguely said to Steve, because he's on one Facebook group, could I join this via him? And then I thought, no, I'll just leave it. I've got the booklet. Have I said what it is? I haven't, have I? It's the Modern Folk Embroidery Quintessential Frisian Smalls Stitch Along. The main idea behind it is to learn some new and different finishing techniques, which Jacob has done videos for, but are all on Facebook. There is information in the book, clear with photographs, and I'm enough of a sewer, I think, to be able to do it without needing step-by-step guidance of a video. So I'm not doing it. So that sort of has slowed me down somewhat. I've also slowed down on it because the fabric I've chosen to do this first piece, which is a September piece, is a piece of 40 count, and I've not been feeling well, and 40 count, I've not been feeling 40 count, but I'll show you where I am. I am here. Tiny. On the first piece. So there's a motif in the middle here to put in. You continue doing this back stitch around, down, across. There's a chart to put your initials in at the top here, and then it's all about the finishing, because you use this back stitch to finish. So you join the back stitching as part of your finish and stuff it. And I haven't ever done, have I done that before? That might be something you do on a bisque cornu type finish, so I might have done, but that will be a new type of finish for me. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's very tight because I know that that's where I'm going to be finishing. That's all I need for a margin, really. So it's dated 1749. Jacobs has said it's one of his earliest pieces. He's taken the motif from something that he has, and I will end up with a little pin pillow like this. That's piece number 1. That's the August piece, and I'm aware we're in September. I think this is the September piece, this little piece here. As far as fabric goes, that also delayed me a bit because I went through my fabrics and I pulled out a variety actually, so I think I will do them on different fabrics. So this piece here is 40 count winter white from Seraphim. I do love Seraphim fabrics. I used to buy them from Sue at Peakside Needleworks. They don't seem to be about anymore, but that's obviously an offcut of something. And I've been so frugal with my linen, I've still got space here to do something as well. I also pulled out old stationery 40, I think they're all 40 count, yeah, old stationery 40 count, also by Seraphim. I pulled out 40 count prairie grass, also Seraphim. This is a precious stash actually, if you can't get them anymore, isn't it? Sorry that they're in the bags. And I pulled out 40 count Up in the Attic from Fox and Rabbit. It's not, actually I'm going to take this one out because it's not showing so well there. They do all sort of go together. I'm going to get myself in a mess. Turn that one round. They do tone together. Actually, that's quite different on the screen that I'm seeing there. Yeah. And this one is the pale one. And of course, they'll all be done in this. And I thought it looked basically this. It didn't look nice on everything because I had a piece it didn't look nice on. But I thought this red looked nice on all of these. So I probably will stitch them. That also tones really nicely, although it's not showing there. I probably will stitch them all on different fabrics, but all 40 count and all with the, I think it's called fallow red. I'll just double check that. So yeah, a sal I haven't kept up with, but that will do when I feel a bit better. I'll get back to it. Fallow red, yeah. So that is my modern folk embroidery quintessential Frisian smalls. It goes right the way through to the end of January, so I do stand a good chance of keeping up with it and having a bowl full of goodies at the end. So that's something else I've been working on. And that's it. I've got my knitting notebook in there and my book of days. Despite the fact that I have not been very well, I have only one empty day in my book of days. So have managed to do something, even if it's just a round of knitting. I managed to pick up something every day. So that's, wonder what's in the bag. So new bags. Not many new bags because I've not been well. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I've been slow. I did do an update between these two floss tubes, and I still have a couple of those things that I obviously haven't shown because it's not been part of a floss tube. So I'm just going to show those ones first. I have made the Isabel bags from the quilt that I showed last time. This one, these are the remaining ones, the others have all gone. This one is number 22. It is pieced, but not by me. That's the original quilt. You can see some piecing here and across here. All of this is the original quilt. There's none of that on the back. There is a bit of fading going on here. Actually, it's very obvious there. It's not so obvious in real life. Actually, a bit of piecing across the bottom. Again, this is all part of the original quilt. And this has a really fun, actually it's tulip pink, spotty lining with hopefully a matching drawstring. So that's number 22. This one is number 20. So this is the other side of the quilt. This one has a lovely random patch stuck right in the middle there. I try to always get the patches in if they appear on the quilts because they're the fun bit, really. And that's the back of that one. This is a very old worn quilt, and in places the top layer, because they're layers of saris, if you've not been here before, they're actually old camphor quilts and they're layers of cotton saris. This one is so fine in places that when I was working on them I noticed you could see the shadow of the sari underneath. Again, you might be able to see that because you might be looking on a bigger screen than I am. That panel is, I mean, there's a loose thread there. That's not me, that's the quilting. But worn, I don't know if that'll pick up how worn they are on the top layer. They are objects of beauty, actually. somebody has sat and created this and done all these tiny stitches, and then when it's needed it, little repairs using whatever fabrics they have to hand. This one also has, oh no it doesn't have the spotty lining. It has a really lovely blue leafy lining, different coloured drawstring on the top. And there's just one more of those. This one is very similar. It is number 19, and it also has a very similar random patch. Oh look, you can see the shadow of the underneath sari. Something's going on there, isn't it? You can't see it in real life, but I saw it on the camera there. So very fine. It's pieced on the back, not by me, but on the original quilt, and has the same blue leafy lining. And that's it for those. I have a bit more of that quilt left. I'm going to make a couple more bright ones that might be pieced by me, and one of them might be for me because I really like it. But I used all that tulip pink dotty lining, so I don't have a lining lined up for the next 2 or 3 that I'll be able to make. So I need to source something, find something. So they will be different again. Each one of these bags is different. Okay. Also, as part of that update, I did some Father Christmas bags, most of which have gone, but still available. There he is. I mean, he's Father Christmas. I haven't shown all the tassels I made went with the bags that I sold, and not everybody wants to buy a tassel. That's absolutely fine. So I didn't feel in the mood, because I've not been feeling well, of making another red tassel. But if you look on the website, it comes with if you wanted a tassel, it's a lovely bright red one with a gold neck on it. And the inside is just lovely because, yeah, trees and woodland. There he is, look again there. There are some animals on the inside fabric, and so I've made a few thread keeps. I can still make more, and I've made ones with the little rabbit there. Again, I haven't made one to show, and there's a fox somewhere lying down in there as well, and I've made a fox one as well. So they're available on the website. And then for today's Flosstube, I have made 2 new bags. So I pulled out this fabric. It's very graphic there, doesn't it? This is a sausage dog, or a dachshund. But yeah, I'm liking the way the print looks there. It's a very fine cotton. I think it's Japanese fabric. Sorry. It's got a fab lining of paw prints. It makes a great thread keep. You can see that. Just the right size for a thread keep. And I put a brownie coloured tassel on there. Now, I've called this one Bumble. And the reason behind that is because my parents have always had miniature wire-haired dachshunds. So I've grown up with them. The Schnauzer is my dog of choice now from my own family, but miniature wire-haired dachshunds, big part of my life. And the very first one that we had was called Bumble, and she was a brindle. So so this sort of browny, creamy colour. So there's Bumble. My parents have still got I mean, they usually have a couple at a time. At the moment, now they're getting a bit older, well, quite a bit older. They have one, he's called Otto. He is adorable. But this one is called Bumble, after that very first fashion that we had. And then, continuing with the brownie theme, I found some of this. And I don't make anything that I don't love myself, but I know that a lot of you out there love bees. So I couldn't resist picking up this fabric because I know that you love it, love bees. I think I've used this fabric before, but never in this colour. And this taupey sort of colour really hits the buttons for me, to the point that I would like one of these myself. I think I've called it Lavender Honey because I have lined it with a lavender coloured print, and I'm a bit into lavender at the moment. I have no idea why, but it's a colour that I've started to buy a few bits in, and I thought, oh, you're buying a lot of lavender, Sarah. Anyway, there's something about the colour of this, because you know I love colour, this brownie shade, that really hits the spot for me. It's got golden highlights on it. The crown is gold, and elements around the bee are gold. I like a bit of gold as well. And I'm working away on these, and I thought, that's not dissimilar to that quilt that you've got, because I already have another quilt lined up for Isabel bags. I'm not going to cut into it yet because I want to finish the other one first. There's at least 2 or 3, 4 maybe, to come out of that one. But I did buy this quilt. This is another very old, very worn one, because you know that's what makes them cut. That's what makes me feel that it's okay to cut them up. But this is a very softly coloured one. I don't know if it's going to show. I thought, I do like it when things tone and match. That's nice. And then I thought, well, actually, that's very honeycomb-like as well. So I'm quite excited to make a few of these, and I already have the perfect lining fabric. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I bought quite a bit of it because I thought, oh, that's so perfect for that. And when it came, it was. And yeah, something really nice about that. This obviously has a different reverse. Where's the easiest way to show you the other side? The other side is very pastel-y, different design completely. Very worn. Look, you can see there even on the camera. That's a very worn little patch just there. But it's a lovely quilt, and will be coming your way soon-ish. So I thought it was worth bringing that down to show you. Oh, so weak, that's even heavy to shift. That bee fabric makes such a nice thread keep, because it's a bee. So the thread keeps to go with that as well. So it's a very, very small bag update this time. There's the bumble one, put that one over there as well. Because that's what I've had in me. That's what I've been able to think, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend an hour or two, and I find it very enjoyable. You know, it's not a chore for me. I do it because it gives me pleasure. So yeah, when I felt in the mood, and certainly in the in-between update, when I made all the Isabel bags and the Father Christmas bags, I was feeling okay then. I was feeling rubbish because of the chemotherapy, but I was feeling okay. So those other ones have been subsequently when I've not been well, and so there's just those 2. I do have more excuse me, I have more of the bee fabric. Hence, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, might quite like one of those myself. So when the bee ones sell out, at some stage, there will be a few more of those, but no more Dachshund ones, sorry. That's all of the fabric that I have. Okay. Oh, sales to the States. Now, lots of people have stopped selling to America because of the tariffs. I asked Steve to take shipping to the States off the website as an option, but he's been super busy and he hasn't done it. So if anybody were to buy one, that would be fine. I also feel, in a way, it's not for me to say, oh, the tariffs are too expensive, you can't buy from me. That's really your choice. If you really want something and you're prepared to pay whatever the tariff is, that is your choice. It's 10% from the UK, which isn't going to break the bank, but what might is whatever collection charges you are hammered with as well, because I buy from places where I have to pay duty sometimes, and have done for many years, and it wasn't so much the duty that was expensive, it was actually the fee charged by the post office for processing and collecting that duty, that sometimes you thought, oh crikey, that's more than I actually paid for the object. But you know, if it's the only way to get something that you really want, maybe that's okay. So that's what I was thinking at first. And these things are very slow to change, and things do change along the way. So recently I've come across PDDP, which means Postal Delivery Duties Paid service via the Royal Mail. And it would appear to be, excuse me, I'll have another drink. When I purchase the postage, it works out the duty that will be paid, that will be required, and I believe adds on a handling charge of their own, which says it's 50p. Seems very reasonable to me. And also this PDDP is relevant to Europe as well, because I've not been able to sell to Europe for a long time, but countries like France, the Netherlands, Sweden, it seems to be that I am going to be able to sell to America, to European countries, using this system. At the moment, I'm not quite sure how it will work, because I put the postage, you click the postage that you want when you buy from me, and yet I think I won't know what the postage is until you have bought from me, and I in turn buy the postage from Royal Mail. So it's very early days, but I'm waffling on here about it because I think that is the solution. I'm going to have to speak to Steve. There may be that I have to rejig the website, that you buy the bag and I charge you for the postage separately once I have received that bill giving me the postage cost and the duty paid. But what it will mean is that once you have paid me, there will be nothing for you to pay your end. I pay it all to Royal Mail. I don't make any profit on postage at all. In fact, I probably make a loss because of the PayPal fees. But I literally turn around and buy the postage that I charge you from Royal Mail. So I think it's going to pan out. Maybe I might need a guinea pig to help me out to see how it works. We'll see. But at the moment, hopefully by the time you see this, Steve will have taken off USA postage as an option. But I'm pretty confident that it's not only a temporary thing, but that I might be able to start sending to Europe now as well. It seems like a good result, and it's only 10% from the UK. Right, that's enough of that. What have I been buying? So I've lost all track of time, but a few weeks ago, Isabel, one of my daughters, and I went to see Ballet Rambert at Sadler's Wells perform Peaky Blinders, The Redemption of Thomas Shelby. I did share a post about it on Instagram because it was fantastic. We had such a nice time. We went on a Saturday matinee. We travelled up by train and underground and popped up at Angel, which is at the end of Camden Passage. So we went down Camden Passage. There's quite a nice pub at the end. It's not very expensive. My taste buds were okay back then, a few weeks ago. And we had a nice lunch in the pub at the end of Camden Passage. And then it's not, you come out of Angel here, the Camden Passage is that way, Sadler's Wells is that way, but all very walkable, even for somebody who's a bit doddery at the moment. So Camden Passage, and then we had to go past Loop on our way to Sadler's Wells. So I bought something. Can't go past Loop without going in. And I'll show you what I bought, because this is it for purchases. This is what happens when you're not very well. You don't feel like shopping and you don't go out. But I bought in my little Loop bag. I'd seen it on the internet, on their website. So I bought some Rico Creative Make It Blümchen flower, isn't it? My daughter's fluent German speaker. I am not. Where's my board? So I bought this. Can you see the sparkle? A bit? Yes, you can see the sparkle. But let's take the wrapper off. And unwind it a bit. So it's basically, it's a thread. Getting the sparkle. It's a thread, and on the thread are tiny flower shaped sequins. Now the sun's coming round, but I don't think that's, they are tiny flower shaped sequins, but that's the sparkle that you can see. Can you see? On there, yeah, you can see. On a thread. So for me, the idea with this is to mix it with a yarn in a garment, a cardigan probably. I mean, it's going to be phenomenally subtle because those sequins are tiny. I mean, 2 millimeters across maybe, if you can see them on there. Who knows what it will look like? It'll require some swatching. Yes, as I say, it's cotton. There were various different colours, but you can't beat a navy blue. I think I've even got some yarn I've got some yarn that I had in mind when I bought it, but now I've unwound it and looked at it, it might be a bit too thin for that yarn, because that yarn is more of a double knitting weight, and I think this probably would mix better with a 4-ply because it's so thin. It was, I thought, really reasonably priced, because on here there are 375 meters, and I think it was £4. So that's a lot of thread. I don't know what that noise is, but that's something going on upstairs. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. Anyway, that's a lot of thread. 375 meters for £4, and so I bought 3 of them because that would certainly make a jumper or a cardigan. So that is, I've been buying things for Penelope's pocket. They don't count. Things, materials and equipment that I need. But that's all I've bought to enhance my stash, or anything actually. I just haven't bought anything since I last saw you. And no doubt I'll have fun doing some tension squares with that, and coming up with something to use it for. Right, old stuff. So I thought I'd talk a bit about mother of pearl thread winders, bearing in mind that I am trying to give away a modern one. I've got some old ones that I thought I might talk about. So where shall we start? Mother of pearl comes from the pearl oyster shell. It is the shell of the pearl oyster. So you find mother of pearl objects in the past in places where the pearl fishing industry was big. So that's really mainly China and Australia. There was a lot of trade between Europe, England and China, historically going back many, many years. I'm thinking of the East India Company, those ships that went over with stuff and came back with stuff. Lots of trade going backwards and forwards. Tea, obviously the main thing, back in the 18th century. Very valuable, very popular. And I remember when I was studying antiques, one of the things that we talked a lot about was this trade backwards and forwards between China, and how there needed to be ballast in the hold for the tea, and that's how porcelain, they started filling up with heavy porcelain, started coming over, nowadays known as China. There you go. And while it came over as ballast, how very, very quickly it became incredibly desirable, valuable, popular, imbued with magical powers. I've spoken before about the English trying to emulate porcelain, not knowing how to make it. When I was working on Noélie Corbineau and I put a beetle on, I talked a little bit then about how highly we valued porcelain, being a country that used earthenware. Can you imagine what it must have been like, this superfine porcelain? So that started coming over, but other things started to come over as well. And one of those things were gambling chips, gambling tokens, made of mother of pearl. And they also, there was a lot of gambling going on in the 18th century, both in China and in England. And they also became very popular very quickly. And just like the porcelain, big aristocratic families would place orders for big sets of dinnerware with their crests on, and they would be commissioned. You know, if you go around any country house, you'll see some, and they would be commissioned one year and picked up the next. And then the same became true of gambling chips or gambling tokens. You could actually order your crest all hand carved on these mother of pearl discs, phenomenally beautiful, each one hand done, each one identical, and then they would come back to you, and they're still out there because obviously very highly desirable, very highly prized, and very expensive, and still very expensive, and you can pick them up. But as time went on, they became more generic, more mass produced, right up till I think it was about the 1840s that the trade sort of waned, and it waned for various reasons. I think I read somewhere that whist became a more popular game in England, and you play whist with, or you chart the progress of whist, or who's winning or losing with whist, on a board with pegs, not with gambling chips. I'm sure they still gambled. Plastic began to be introduced. The pearl industry began to be overfished. And I haven't checked my facts here, but of course there was the invention of the cultured pearl. And I haven't checked my facts. This is from my brain, which is mush. Was that Mickey Moto, who invented the cultured pearl? A pearl is formed, I think this is pretty common knowledge, but I will say it anyway, when something irritates the oyster. Now that could be anything from a virus, I think I've read, to a piece of grit. And in order to protect itself, it starts coating it in nacre, which is the mother of pearl ingredient. And over the years it builds up and up and up and up. And so pearls are valuable depending on their size, because if it's a big pearl, it's been in there for many, many years. Or sometimes their shape, because some random object has got in there, and you can get what I believe are known as Baroque pearls, which are not round, but all sorts of strange and wonderful shapes, but again formed over many, many years. And the invention of the cultured pearl was introducing a bead into the oyster, which he didn't like, and it started coating it with the nacre that forms what we know as a pearl. So natural pearls, very, very many years to form, and you have to dive to find one. Cultured pearls, well, it depends, doesn't it? The longer you leave the bead in there, the more coating you will get, the more iridescence and luster to your pearl you will get, and the costlier your pearl will become. So even a cultured pearl necklace can be quite pricey depending on the depth of that coating, or it could be not as pricey because it doesn't have that depth. That's pretty much all from my memory, so please don't quote me on it, but that's the knowledge that's in my head about cultured pearls and pearls in general, and mother of pearl, and a bit about the gambling chips and thread winders. What else would I like to say? I suppose thread winders were for keeping your thread just pausing, because I'm thinking maybe you bought thread like we buy floss or in little twisted hanks, and so you needed something to wind it around to keep it nice and flat and smooth and not tangled. So thread winders were before the time of cotton reels or reels. They could be made of anything. I've come across them made of bone, or wood. There are Morclin ones that I've seen. They're made of all sorts of different materials. I mean, my grandma used to wind them round a bit of old cardboard. Wind thread round. It's just to keep your thread from tangling and neat and tidy and in good condition, I suppose. Excuse me. So I have some to show you. Most of mine are actually gaming chips, gaming counters, whatever you want to call them, I suppose. I'm guessing they're all Chinese. You can pick them up. There are lots and lots of them out there. You can pick them up in antique shops for a few pounds. One of mine is actually, well, actually a couple of mine are proper thread winders. I'll show you the proper thread winders first. So I have this one. Oh, look, it is beautiful, isn't it? It's quite a thick, heavy one. This is a fairly common shape. I mean, it's Victorian, early-ish Victorian, I would say. Hasn't got any thread on it at the moment. This is a good shape. It's got points, so you can wind your thread around it nicely. I think it may well end up finding a home in my collar box as an object of beauty and something to put some thread round. So that's my first one. This is probably my most precious because this is a Georgian one and it's tiny, so I can't even really show it properly because it's so tiny. So this is another common form. Ooh, let me shift myself a bit. Of a snowflake, basically. It's got it's got some carving on it. Oh, here we go. It's got some carving on it and some piercing. Excuse Una barking away in the background. And obviously you wind your thread round the flakes. Now I know this one is Georgian because I have, which I haven't shown you but I will do one day, I have a tiny Georgian sewing box, pink silk lined, and it has 4 of these in it. It should have 4, which is great. So they're 4 original ones to the box, but only 2 of them are whole, like this one. The other 2 have both lost a point. So that's a tiny Georgian one, and they're quite. You see quite a lot of these snowflake style ones. I'll put that one there. Terrified I'm going to break it and have 3 broken ones. And in this pot here. These are, I don't know that any of these are thread winders. I think they're all gaming chips and they're probably all Chinese. I'm pretty certain they're all Chinese. I have taken to wrapping my, I don't know what to do with them really. I've taken to wrapping some of my knitting yarns around them, some of the beautiful yarns when I've finished. So that's got some yarn around it. This is part of the Lola, the infamous Lola pullover has found its way around there. They're all very heavily engraved, beautifully so. This one has flowers on it. Yeah, on both sides. I just don't think the camera is sensitive enough to pick it up, but they are beautifully engraved, as well as being this beautiful iridescent finish. Huh. Now, this is a bit of cashmere from the elusive Sophie scarf that's gone missing. Maybe it's all I will have of the Sophie scarf. Now it's entered the black hole. That's that one. So I'm not going to go through all of them because I've got a bit of a potful here, but they tend to be rectangular. This one's got 2 birds on it. Most of these are different. This one's got a butterfly on it. Another rectangular one. I've got a butterfly one side, flower the other. So I've got quite a few rectangular ones. These would all be for gambling with. I've got a circular one, which obviously is more of a traditional shape for gambling with. That's got, well, actually it's rather nice. It's got a checkerboard design on one side and birds on the other. I'm showing, I bet you can't see. I don't know. I can't see. That's a round one. This one here would make quite a good thread winder, although I think it is a gaming chip because it's got, I think they're sea monsters or dragons or something with open mouths where you could wind onto. There's more rectangular ones here, small ones. And my favourite ones are the fish ones. These were definitely used as gaming tokens. I have a few of these, not many, but a few. And they're fun because it's a fish. All carved. They've got, I don't know if it will show, they've got puckering lips. We know how I smile at fish. So yes, I've got a few of those as well, about 4 or 5 of those here. These seem to have scales engraved on one side and a couple of lovebirds on the other. I don't know what these ones have got. Similar. They're all similar. So that's my little pot, my little collection of Chinese gaming counters. Just things of beauty and just a couple of proper thread winders. Once they stopped making thread winders and gaming chips, the industry still did continue because you come across very many Victorian sewing accessories with mother of pearl handles, button hooks and braddles and yeah, all sorts of things. I've also come across reels, so with a mother of pearl top and bottom, and then you could either, maybe you could put a cotton reel on it, or just wind your thread on it. I've seen lots of pin discs, like the pin disc that I made for my crown swan drum, that would have a mother of pearl top and bottom and a ribbon to pop your pins in. I've seen waxers on the same sort of thing, a top and a bottom and a waxed disc in the middle so that you can wax condition your thread. All sorts of sewing accessories made out of mother of pearl. So that's my little chat about mother of pearl. I've covered everything. I think so. I have a finish. A finish. I thought it would be a fully finish, but it's not. But it is a finish. And I finished the stitching, which I had almost done, on my parlour pin keep. There we go. So I had to go and retrieve this from upstairs because I had intended to fully finish it. I have changed my mind numerous times on how I'm going to fully finish it, and I may well do again before you see it next time. Who knows what will happen with this piece. But I have cut out a cardboard base for it. Well, I'm in the process of cutting out a base for it out of a piece of mount board, which is really thick, and I'm having to do it a little bit at a time because I'm so weak and feeble. It hurts my hand, and I don't think it's good for my scissors. Anyway, I've started the finishing of this, so it may well be a finish next time you see it. My poor pinky. And some fully finishing. I have done some fully finishing. I've shared both on Instagram, so you may well have seen them, but I will show them again. I have, because I've been talking about these two since the beginning of my Flosstubes, I think. I have fully finished Paisley and Lily. So here is Paisley. Really love Paisley. Really love all the animal crackers. There's Paisley. After much umming and ahhing as to whether to use that fabric as a backing, all of my animal crackers, yes, all of them, I have used the linen to back them. And so in the end I thought, I'm just going to use the linen. But I put a heart-shaped piece of that fabric on because, oops, she's off, because it did work so well with her dress. And so I did do that. And I dated her with my initials in the over one, and I made her a handbag. Now the handbag, I just did the handbag. It's a black 4-ply knitting yarn, which I did on, and I knitted it on very small needles as a rectangle, sort of sewed it up, and then sort of joined it. I can come forward a bit. I joined it using this sparkly knitting yarn. And so the join hopefully looks like the clasp. Yeah, the clasp. And then I put a couple of French knots in it, which wasn't easy, to be like the little bits that you twist to open and shut, and gave it a handle. So in my mind it's sort of like a black patent handbag, a smart one. And a bit like one my nan had. I had a conversation with Janet, I think it was you, Janet, wasn't it, about our nans or grandmas having bags like this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I have very much been inspired by the fact that these animal crackers remind me of Sissy and Ada, those characters from definitely from the 80s, possibly from the late 70s as well, having a good old gossip with their handbags, usually clutched. Yes, I think in the pattern she's got a drum, but I've made her a handbag as her accessory. And I've shown Lily's handbag before because I've also made Lily a handbag, but now she is also fully finished. And here she is. So I attached that handbag so I felt that she was very much clutching it in the Ada and Sissy manner while she's gossiping away. And there's even a little frog on there, and a teeny tiny button, mother of pearl button. She is on a piece of number 12 Stitch Co. Iced Rose, I think it was, which I used for my crown swan drum, and I had enough for the back, and she doesn't have anything else on the back of her, but she's just dated. So I finished both of those at the same time. Excuse me. I had very much been putting off the finishing, and I shouldn't have, because, you know, it was fine. Doing two together, oh, there's a bit of sawdust there. Oh, two bits of sawdust. Sawdust gets everywhere. I stuff with sawdust. It wasn't, yeah, it was fine. Finishing them was absolutely fine. Stitching them, turning them, stuffing them. I guess, you know, Paisley's tricky because of her roundish head. That's a difficult thing to get. But yeah, they were fine. I shouldn't have put it off for so long because they were fine to finish. That's my two fully finishes. And I fully finished Whittaker. Now, I fully finished Whittaker in 2022, but he never had his Christmas tree. So while I was working on the others, I did him his tree. So there's Whittaker. And he, as I say, he was done some time ago, and I knitted him a scarf. But since I last saw you, I made his Christmas tree. Because Paisley was stitched on the other piece of fabric that I had left over from Whittaker, and the Christmas tree out of one of the scraps. So it's all using the same fabric. So I just linen on both sides, a bit of I don't know what that's called, but Christmassy doodles, and a little bell which doesn't jingle on the top there just to finish it off. And he has his Christmas tree. So yeah, he was done some time ago, but here we are with them together. Or they can't hold hands. Maybe I might move the tree to the other hand. There we go. Okay, my fully finished objects. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. We're done. I will give the quickest of health updates. Somebody said something. Oh, I do know exactly who it is, but your name escapes me. When I talked about reaching the end of my chemotherapy, it might come to me in a minute. You commented, that's the ultimate finish. Talking about my finishes. And it has been the ultimate finish. So since I saw you, I did finish all of my chemotherapy for the breast cancer. Done. A good feeling. Then it was on to the radiotherapy. I still need to have 3 weekly let's word this correctly. I need to have an injection every 3 weeks for the type of breast cancer that I have had. So I finished my chemotherapy, and I think I said, you know, I wasn't feeling great. Chemotherapy does not make you feel well. It is indiscriminate. It kills cells and makes you feel pretty rubbish, and it affects your taste buds and your eating, and yeah, all of those things. There's many of you out there on it, know people on it, have had it in the past. It isn't pleasant, but necessary. So I came to the end of that, and a week later maybe, I was due for one of those injections that I need to have every 3 weeks. So I turned up for the injection, not feeling that great, and the nurse that's going to give me the injection takes my temperature, and it's high. And she just said to me, "You've got a high temperature, you can't have treatment, go to A&E." So I did. And there I was for days. So, did you know, I probably had a temperature for a while without really recognising the symptoms because I wasn't feeling that great anyway. And I lived in fear of a temperature when I was in hospital because it meant so much. But it doesn't mean so much anymore because I'm not, I'm going to use technical words, I think, I'm not neutropenic. I have neutrophils. I have white blood cells to protect me, which when you're undergoing treatment for leukemia you don't have, and you're incredibly vulnerable. So I'd been having blood tests, and I would always ask, what are my neutrophils? And they're always about normal, actually. This means that my body has an ability to protect itself. So I was happy with that. So I didn't really sort of think that I was ill and had a temperature. Anyway, I did. So I go to A&E, where I spend the day, and they give me some antibiotics. They do the protocol. When you're on chemotherapy, you have these antibiotics if you have a temperature. So they started pumping me full of antibiotics. And I was told that I probably should be an inpatient, but there were no beds. And that I could come back to something called SDEC the next day, which I have subsequently found out stands for Same Day Emergency Care. So it's a little bit beyond A&E, and that's where you go when you need A&E type treatment, but you don't necessarily need to be admitted. So I then spent, that was the Thursday that I was all day in A&E. I spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of that beautiful bank holiday weekend, every day in SDEC, hanging around, waiting for results of blood tests and all the antibiotics they were throwing at me, not making any difference, still had a high temperature. So I think a day or so in, I requested a test to see if I had a fungal infection, because normal antibiotics don't work on that. At that time they were saying they thought I had a virus, because antibiotics don't work on viruses, and normally the minute you start taking antibiotics you begin to feel better, and I wasn't. I was the same, spiking incredibly high temperatures all through the day despite all the antibiotics. So where are we up to? So on the Tuesday after the bank holiday, my radiotherapy was due to start, and it was felt that even though I didn't feel well and I had a high temperature, that wouldn't stop me from having the radiotherapy. So I went, and I am so grateful to my friends, because that first day Steve has had various bits and pieces going on, which has meant he's not been able to take me. Well, the idea was I got public transport, but that wasn't going to happen feeling ill. He's not been able to take me. So one of my friends who could take me is not a public transport user. She only drives. So she drove me, and we parked very close to the Marsden in Kensington and Chelsea, and I had the treatment and she drove me home. Lovely. The next 2 days, another very dear friend took me. We went on public transport, and it was okay. She was there to support me. She was a great support to me. Minimal walking, good timing so that the trains weren't busy. So the second day we went by train, all hunky-dory. Well, not exactly hunky-dory because I wasn't well, but okay. I by this time developed a rash all over my body, was beginning to form. I thought, well, this is a bit weird, what's going on here? But nothing too much to worry about in my mind. The next day she took me, was still feeling pretty rough, still had temperature, coughing. You have to do a lot of controlled breathing during radiotherapy, so it wasn't easy. But that day I got a call from Kingston Hospital confirming I did have a fungal infection, which, if you've listened to all my waffle before, you will know that is my nemesis, and I was really frightened that it had come back, because I have survived this thing twice, this thing that has a 90% mortality rate, and to be told you have a fungal infection was scary, really scary. I've got my friend with me, phenomenal support. as she called her husband phenomenal support. He jumped in the car, come and got us, and took us to Kingston. Meanwhile, I had asked my friend to call my haematology team. I had asked A&E and SDEC to contact them so they knew where I was, what I was dealing with, and I don't think they had. Well, they hadn't. My friend called my haematology team. Friends, so grateful to my friends. So that when I arrived at Kingston Hospital, within half an hour, my consultant had turned up to give me the biggest hug and reassure me that it was all going to be okay. So she took one look at the rash and said, that's all the antibiotics you've been having. That's a medicine related rash. I'm not worried about that at all. My bloods are good. I am not neutropenic, and that's when that nasty little fungal infection gets you. So the conclusion is, yes, I have a fungal infection. Yes, it's probably in my lungs because they've performed CT scans of my entire torso and pelvis. That's where I'm showing I have an issue. But it's not my nemesis. It's something else. So she immediately put me back on the horrible drug that gives me hideous side effects, plays havoc with my liver, my vision, and my coordination, my balance, my ability to hold myself upright properly. It is a horrible drug. But within a few doses of that horrible drug, I did begin to feel better and my temperature went away. So I have another fungal infection, but not my nemesis, and one that is responding to the horrible drug that I have to take. And I hope that explains why. Well, it explains to me why I've made some really silly mistakes. I always make silly mistakes. What am I talking about? But, you know, like dropping that stitch on Steve's sock. You know, I really haven't been well, but I have been functioning and I have still been going for the radiotherapy treatment, unbelievably. It's just that I've gone from going up into town thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the V&A. Penelope, would you like to go to the Cartier exhibition with me? Or, you know, one of my friends, should we have a mooch along the King's Road and lunch? I've gone from that to just get me there and get me home, and I've done the treatment, box ticked. So it's, but, you know, I'm an ill woman. This is to be expected. In my head, I'm invincible, which maybe has helped get me this far. So it's been a bit of a, oh gosh, you know, I don't feel, I really don't feel well. Look at my temperature. I mean, I've hit 40 degrees temperature several times and thought, oh, that's not great, is it? There must be something wrong with the thermometer. So yeah, a roller coaster. Yes, Wendy, a roller coaster. But I am feeling better. I'm feeling better. I can't believe I've talked for so long without dissolving into a coughing fit. I cough a lot when I move around because I can't do deep breathing. But that will get better. It will get better. I will get better. I'm back on the voriconazole, which is, yeah, but it has made me better. I had a blood test yesterday to check my levels. With this drug, it's all about taking the right amount because It's not a nice drug. I did overdose on it. It did cause me huge problems with my liver. But on the other hand, if you're not taking enough, it won't combat your infection. Well, you know, obviously it has combated the infection because I'm feeling a bit better. So hopefully the dose that I'm on is okay. But I'm on weekly blood tests for some time because fungal infections are notoriously difficult to shift. So I'm going to be back on the voriconazole for a while, I think. Anyway, that's my health update. I have another week of radiotherapy. It's a 15-day course of treatment. I've done 2 weeks. Next week is my 3rd week, and I just need 1 treatment the week after because it was a bank holiday that I missed. There we go. I would like to say I'll be back in a few weeks. Oh, I haven't shown you the knitting. I haven't shown you my knitting because I was going to say maybe I want to finish my, well, you're going to see. Very late, but here's the knitting. You thought you were going to get away, didn't you? Well, maybe you've gone. Maybe you've gone ages ago. I don't know. Not that one. This one first. Because actually, this has given me much solace. And I've worked quite a bit on this since I last saw you. And it's my Vair pullover. And the reason that I've worked more on this than on anything else is because it's been really easy. And that's what I've needed. So here it is. This is my Vair pullover. I have a sleeve. And it's a big sleeve, and there's a lot of knitting in this sleeve. It looks a bit odd, doesn't it? But actually, I've tried it on and it's pretty much perfect. So, come on, stick with me. I have never made a sleeve like this before. I picked up stitches, as I said I would, all the way around the armhole. And then I worked short rows. Now, if you're knitting, you know what a short row is. Although you may not have used them in a sleeve construction like this before. If you're not a knitter, you won't know. So I'll try and explain. So, once I'd picked up all my stitches, and this is the beginning of the row on the shoulder seam here, I actually knitted so far this way, turned round and went back so far this way, turn round, 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 so far this way, and I kept on doing that until I got actually quite a long way down. So all of this sleeve head is formed by just knitting an extra stitch each time you go backwards and forwards. I've never made a sleeve, I've never done a sleeve construction like that before. It seems to fit very nicely. I couldn't see I couldn't see how it was working, but it did work. Excuse me. And I think I got all the way down to here before I started knitting in the round. And once I started knitting in the round here, instead of decreasing, which is what you would normally do for a sleeve because sleeves are fitted, I increased every 10th row, I think it was. I increased every 10th row to here, and I tried it on. I think I was supposed to knit 8 rows straight, but I ended up knitting a few more because it wasn't really quite long enough. And then very rapidly over a couple of rows, I decreased, change to a smaller needle, 4 needles, and did it like a sock. It looks tiny, but it's not actually. It's just right as a cuff, and it will hold the balloon sleeve in just the right place. So really pleased with how that worked, and yeah, it's what I needed to do. I needed this sort of very simple knitting when I was feeling so rough. So I think I've got one more increase to do, a few straight rows, and then I can do the cuff on this one as well. And then it'll just be the polo neck. So this has been my, yeah, I can't wait actually. Can't wait for the weather to change so that I can wear it. This has really been good solace for me. I've really enjoyed knitting on that. I do actually need to do another order because I'm out of yarn again. It's eaten up the yarn. I don't know how many balls I've got through, but this Jameson & Smith is, I don't know, £3.70 a ball. I think I need another one basically. Polo neck, maybe another 2. Right, I'm feeling super hot, so even though we're nearly at the end, I am actually going to take off my cardigan, so just excuse me a second while I just take that off, because am I even looking rosy cheeked? I'm feeling hot, the knitting. And I had a new start. Since I last saw you. Why did I start something new? Because I say I don't have more than one on the go. I don't know, I just did. So this is my capo from my big knitting yarn haul. I guess I just wanted to start my big knitting yarn haul. So I did this actually not long after I last recorded, so I wasn't ill when I did this, and I made myself put it down because I could easily finish this in a couple of days. So this is using the Camerose Snæfnug in this lovely bright red, of which I think I've got far too much, because I've got quite a few balls left and I'm already on the homeward straight. So it's just the front, that must be the back. Where am I? Really easy knitting, really big needles, round and round. That is the armhole, because it is a cross between, well, it's sort of like a bit of a cape, I suppose, isn't it? So it's cropped, it's quite short, your arm goes through there, and then this becomes this is the shoulder. So what I'm doing now is decreasing. So I think, I can't remember actually, because it's been a while since I picked it up, but either every row or every other row I lose a stitch and it creates this shape here. Have I checked my arm goes through? I have checked my arm goes through actually, because it'll sit here on my arm. So yeah, I think it's, she says, I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, it's just going to be fine. It'll sit roughly about there like that. Yeah, you get the idea anyway. So that's that. I filmed a little clip, I think it's about 5 or 6 minutes long, about doing the tension square for this, because it's stocking stitch but knitting around. And when you do a tension square, you can't really knit them around. If I'm technically expert enough, I'll insert it here at the end, and if you're interested, oh, losing my voice, you can stick around and watch it. And if you're not interested in finding out how I did that tension square, which was accurate, because I did the tension square, I decided what needle I needed, and I have since measured this and it's the same. So for once I did a tension square that actually worked, and I'm actually going to get a size that I thought I would. So let's just hope I've measured myself correctly. So I'll insert that here right at the very end. You can either watch it or not. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have stayed the extra 10 minutes or whatever it is that I've been talking about knitting, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll see you again next time, hopefully with a few more bags, more news on being able to post to Europe and the States, and of course more stitching and knitting. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye. So here are the tension squares that I did for my Camarosa Snaefnug yarn. I don't always do tension squares, but I haven't used this yarn before, so I've got no prior knowledge of it, and in that case I think it probably is quite important to do one. My knitting book over there with my notes in it tells me that for this pattern the tension is 14 stitches and 22 rows in the round. Now that's really important because when you knit in the round, it's just knitting, there's no purling. And I know that people think your purl tension can be different to your knit, and therefore if you're knitting one row purling the next, you'll get a different tension than if you're knitting in the round and it's just all knit. So I'm trying to do it properly. I'm doing it semi-properly because I've done it completely as you should do, but I have done this as if I were knitting in the round. So this is my first one. This is 6.5mm needles. These are the recommended needle size in the pattern. So I cast on the 14 stitches that I need to measure, but then I also always cast on another couple each side so that you're not measuring right to the edge, you're measuring, you know, this bit in the middle. And then I knit a row. Oh, I don't want it to be noisy, try not to drop them. So when you've knit a row, you're here like this. Now, instead of turning it around and purling back, you actually just slide all your stitches to the other end, back where you started. You take your hanging yarn from the back, you loop it, not too tightly, and then you start again this end, and you knit another row, and then your stitches will end up at this end, and you slide them all back, loop it round, knit another round. So that is how you get the tension for knitting every row without having to make a huge tube. I suppose you could actually just knit round and round and round on little short needles and make a tube, but this is quicker and I'm all about speed. Now if you were doing it really properly, you would then cut open all your hanging threads on the back, and you would then wash it, and then you would block it. So I haven't gone as far as doing it as correctly as that, because actually that's a lot of yarn taken up there and there. And so as soon as I finish filming this, I will be unravelling these and putting them back on the ball. I don't want to waste this much yarn. So after I had done this, I carefully, without pulling and stretching and doing whatever, just pinned both of these out on my carpet to be able to measure them. So I knit that one. I've spoken before about not liking my knitting sloppy and loose, and I didn't really like the way it looked. And I looked at the ball band, and the ball band said that you could use quite a wide variety of needle sizes up to a 6mm. So this one here is a 6mm needle. I did exactly the same thing. I much prefer the look of this one. I pin them out next to each other on the carpet. This one measures pretty much exactly 10 by 10 or 4 by 4, which is obviously fantastic. And this one here, 11 by 11. So that is no good actually, that one. This is the one that I should be going for. I say pretty much 10 by 10 because it really was. It wasn't 9.5. I measured them all over in all directions. And yeah, I'm very happy that this one should give me accurately what it says in the pattern. Because what you have to remember is that this is very small, so that if this measured
say 9.5 by 9.5, that's 1/2 centimetre every 10 centimetres of your garment. So if your garment was a metre, doing the maths in my head, well, that would be 5 centimetres, wouldn't it? Which would then be 2 inches, which is virtually a size difference. So every little tiny difference does actually make a big difference to your finished garment, and that's something that you really do need to bear in mind, how this is only a very small part of how wide your garment is going to be or how long your garment is going to be. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the way it looks. I think it's going to come out the right size. On this particular garment, I think it might have 10 inches of positive ease. So yeah, there's plenty of room there. Literally plenty of room for that tiny little margin of error that there might be. I actually think the needles that you use can make a difference as well. So when I unravel this in a minute, these needles will go in the bag with the project, because I will actually use these needles. Because yeah, sometimes I do feel that it might not even be the diameter of them, it might just be the slipperiness of them or the pointiness of them, the way you hold them. I think all those things can make a difference, so I will actually use those needles. I think that's all I need to say about that, so we will go back to normal service and the other part of the video will resume.